Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 3rd, 2024. Well, hey everyone, I hope you had a wonderful 3-day weekend ready for another wild week of price action. Let's take a peek at what happened overnight. First off, Asian markets mostly lower last night. Kind of struggling in there just a little bit. Shanghai is hovering near 7-month lows and really struggling in there. But overall, Asian markets were just modestly down. If we take a look at European markets this morning, however, they are pretty darn bearish. The DAX being down 0.43%, FTSE's down 0.59%, and the CAC is only down 0.25% as we begin this month. Little bit of uncertainty coming into European markets. U.S. futures are decidedly bearish this morning, with the Dow suggesting a 0.51% gap down this morning. S&P 500 futures 0.52, and the NASDAQ taking the worst of it, a 0.71% reversal here this morning. So a little bit of pressure showing up in the pre-market activity. If we take a look at oil this morning, oil is also lower. We've got oil down $1.22 a barrel. Let's take a look at XLE pre-market showing a pullback in here, down at $1.23 a barrel at 72.32. Brent right now is down $1.62 at 75.10. Natural gas, on the other hand, is looking a little bit higher, and possibly even a double bottom here on UNG, so keep an eye on that. If we take a look at our bonds here this morning, our bonds are, well, a little bit of variation here. The 2-year bond at 3.93%, creeping up a little bit. 10-year bond at 3.91%, also creeping just a tiny bit higher. And gold 30-year is at 4.19 here this morning. So a little bit of fluctuation around here in the bonds this morning. If we take a look at gold, gold's pretty flat here at the moment. Right now we've got gold down just $1 an ounce, and it has been up about $1 an ounce as well this morning, so keep an eye on that. Silver just a little bit lower this morning. Copper, platinum, and palladium all a little bit lower. If we look at palladium here, pulling back just a little bit this morning. If we take a look at our crypto markets, well, Bitcoin, BITO. Bitcoin is actually showing up this morning, but you can see BITO is showing a little bit of pressure here, gap down here this morning. But right now, Bitcoin is up $609 an ounce. However, there's a big mix in the cryptos here this morning. Some are up, some are down. For example, Ether is down 0.77% here at the moment. So keep an eye on those. So how about we take a look at these indexes here in just a moment, but let's settle in and let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope everyone's weekend was wonderful. Obviously, we've got a busy week here as we're heading into a new month, and typically September tends to be, in fact, the last half of September tends to be usually pretty rough for the market. In fact, for the last 10 years, one of the worst periods in the market condition. Up until then, we still have that potential of some bullishness with corporate buybacks still underway. And of course, by about the middle of the month, Goldman is suggesting by about the middle of the month, about 50% of stocks will be entering into their blackout period for the next round of earnings. So we could usually see that breadth in the market pull back by about mid-month. So watch carefully for that. Let's first take a look at these index charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, everyone, these are not anything that we want to try and predict. What we want to do is we want to look at these charts, what is possible without a bias. So think about that carefully, and we'll go through that here this morning. So first off, if we take a look at the diamonds, if we take a look at this high right here, if the bulls were to find inspiration here today, well, a breakout up above here, once again, blue sky highs. We closed on Friday at record high close with a big surge right into the close to squeak us up there. And as you can see, if those bears were to find inspiration here on the day, well, a pushback into here wouldn't be all that much of a surprise. That's a little bit of a support area in there. And right below that, we have a bit more of that support. So we could drift back down into here. If we came so far as to come back down into here and test this trend, probably be a healthy thing, honestly, for the market to do for that pullback, although it might be a little bit painful for those who raced in on Friday in this move to the upside. So watch that carefully here. We are in an upside trend. That's clear here in the chart. Bulls are definitely in control. Now you want to notice our moving averages. We are really stretched away from our moving averages. So that's always a concern for me when we stretch out in such a big way. We'll just have to keep a close eye on that if those bears were to really start to come into play. If we take a look at our SPY, more of a consolidating move. We tried at the end of the day to squeeze this up, but unfortunately, the SPY has not been able to break through and make a new record high, but we are so close to potentially doing so. Keep an eye on that. You can see they tried to gap up overnight here in this price action, tried to push it up through, but the bears have kind of taken over here so far this morning. So watch that closely. If a little push to the upside, it would seem hard for me to believe that we came all of this way just to miss it by that little bit, but that is how double tops are created. So keep an eye on that. If those bears find that inspiration, well, I'd look for that push back down into here to retest this support. And you can see we've got a lot of price action in here now in this consolidation. Breaking below that is where we would come into some major concerns coming into this next area of price support, and then we would start progressing on lower here in that chart. If the bulls can find that inspiration in the data today, then look for that opportunity to press out and the new record highs in the SPY. Blue sky above at that point, and every reason to believe that that is possible. Remember, SPY, it's got a 50-day moving average not that far below, so a pullback in here to retest that 50-day would actually be a healthy thing. I wouldn't see a pullback in this as a terrible sign for the market. If we take a look at our QQQ has struggled in here just a bit, and as you can see, we ended up closing Friday. We pushed right at the end of the day, got us back above that 50-day moving average. We're trying hard to keep that to the upside here, and as you can see this morning, we got that little bit of bearishness coming here in the market. If the bulls can find inspiration here today, then breaking back through this little consolidating 1, 2, 3, 4 candles right here showing that resistance area. We can see where those sellers were pushing back in. If we can push back above that, then we can start coming up through here into these levels and stretching on up to test this bigger resistance level in the chart up here. And breaking through up there, of course, we've got a little bit of gap that could be filled coming up into that next area of resistance. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration, not that hard to envision here. As you can see, we've got a little bit of price support right in here. If we were to push that back down, well, we might have that opportunity to come on down and fill this gap. Unfortunately, that would be a failure of the 50-day moving average and might raise some concern or fear in the market. Then, of course, beyond that point, we're starting to look at some of these levels down in here, and that certainly would raise a bit of concern. If we take a look at our IWM, nice little consolidating pattern in here in a bullish upside trend. Nothing about that chart is bearish. So if the bulls can find inspiration here, well, pressing up through here, you can see how we've had a little bit of resistance right in here in that chart. If we can push on through here, then our next area up here would be to test these highs that we saw back here in the chart, and then pushing on up, and this would be a resistance level up here that goes all the way back to 2021 and 2022. So keep an eye on those areas of the chart. If the bears were to find inspiration, well, again, not that hard to see. Break down below here, and we would give up that trend just a bit, and then maybe start progressing down through some of these areas of price support in the chart. And I think that would raise a little bit of concern if that were the case. Now, breaking down below this area would raise quite a bit of concern, I think, and we could maybe see those bears really starting to gain some strength. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX on Friday pulled back as you'd expect on that bullish push. As a matter of fact, we came very, very close to testing this area of price support right here in the chart. So if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration, then look for this area here to be tested, and even that possibility that that could break to the downside. We start coming back down into these lows that we saw back here in July in the chart. If the bears, however, have something to say, push back up, we might be able to come back up and test some resistance right here in that chart on the VIX. Pushing through there, however, again, we'd probably raise the concern level in the market if that were to occur. You can see we've got some resistance areas here in the chart that could be easily tested, and that is up in there, low 20s area of the VIX, and that would raise some fear, I think, in the market if that were to occur. Now, if we take a look at our T2122, our T2122 is showing us a bit of a problem. We continue to linger up here in this bearish reversal zone as we've been stretching and stretching and stretching and pushing, but we're starting to lose a little bit of that momentum now because we haven't been able to break all of these indexes out. So keep an eye on this. If the bulls find inspiration, well, remember, we got a little tiny bit of energy there to push to the upside. If the bears find inspiration, well, as you can see, there is a big opportunity for a pullback in the chart. If we just pull back into here, catch some of these support levels, no harm, no foul. That just eases some of that upside pressure, and then we can maybe get those bulls to re-engage to continue to extend. But watch that carefully here. We're pretty extended in our short term. If we take a look at our T2108, now percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average continued to move up on Friday, but you can see it just didn't have a whole lot of energy in it on that move back up. So we'll want to be watching this area up here. There's a potential resistance here in the chart. Bulls are still definitely in control, but we'll want to watch that carefully on these resistance areas as we continue to stretch to the upside. Remember, once we start reaching 70, 75 up here, we're in an extreme overbought situation in T2108. Now, there's nothing wrong here. We've got some good support levels below if the bears were to attack as they're doing this morning. But as long as we hold above the 50% area here in the chart, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. If we take a look at T2107 also squeezed up on Friday, and particularly right into the close, last few minutes of the day. And as you see, we're still dealing with some resistance in that chart. And remember, once we get up here in those mid 60s, we run into kind of that extreme situation. Bulls are clearly in control. Pull back in here. Probably no particular worry. We've got some good support levels here in the chart to potentially hold us on any kind of bearish attack and relieve some of that pressure. Our T2101 on Friday had a pretty substantial decline in breadth of the market. Not a big surprise heading into a 3-day weekend, but we'll want to watch that pretty carefully as we progress here through the week. Remember, we've got companies are going to start falling into their blackout period here by the middle of the month. According to Goldman, about half the companies will be in their blackout period by the end of the month. That will end their corporate buyback activity, and that's been a big part of the breadth of the market here. So watch carefully. If we continue to see this fade early in the in September, that could be a little bit of that could be a little bit of concern. So keep an eye on that, but I would not be surprised here over the next couple of weeks we actually see that breadth return to the upside as they try to finish up their corporate buyback activity before they hit their blackout period. Let's take a peek here at some stocks. First off, let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, not real busy today, but we've got a couple of things that certainly can be market moving. As you can see, we've got a PMI manufacturing number that will come in shortly after the market opens. 10 o'clock, the bigger number, the ISM manufacturing index. Both of these are consensus numbers, and you can see they're looking at the PMI to stay flat at 48. The prior was, not flat, actually down from 49.6 from the prior reading. So keep a close eye on that. And then ISM looking for a 47.5 print by consensus. Remember, any of these numbers here, anything below 50 is showing us a contraction in that manufacturing market. So watch those closely. Treasury buyback announcement will be going off in here. We've got some bond auctions this afternoon, and not too much else to worry about. Going into Wednesday, international trade in goods, factory orders, the job openings report. We're going to have some bond auctions and a beige book in there. We're going to have on Thursday, we've got a pretty big day. ADP, jobless claims, productivity and cost, PMI final, ISM services will be in there, natural gas, petroleum status, and of course, at the end of the day, our normal bond auctions and Fed balance sheet in there. If you take a look at the Friday numbers, this is going to be the most important number of the month, or of the week, I should say, and that is that employment situation number coming out Friday morning with some Fed speakers coming into play on Friday. So keep a close eye on those details here this week. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar. Now, our earnings calendar pretty light for today. We do have some notables. Momo reporting this morning. Keep an eye on Momo. That's the only notable I have for this morning. This afternoon, I've got GTLB that will be reporting. PD is reporting this afternoon, and ZS Those are the only notables I have for this afternoon, which is pretty common as we're winding down all of these earnings here for the month. Let's take a peek at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor as well, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much to everyone who does take the time to do that. I really appreciate it. And also want to thank you very much for everyone who shares these videos on your social media feed, and then also those that continue to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link just below the title of the video. Hey, one thing I wanted to bring everyone's attention to, we typically have e-learning sessions on Tuesday evenings. As a matter of fact, we've been doing that for a long time, public e-learning sessions Tuesday evenings. Well, we're changing things up here just a little bit, and we are going to shift those to a Monday. So we're going to have a blackout here for this week. There'll be no e-learning tonight. And just want to remind everyone of that. No e-learning tonight. We will be shifting to next Monday for e-learning. And I had mentioned that I was going to be doing that class on Tuesday, this Tuesday, and it's going to be about the pop out of the box pattern. That will now be transferring to next Monday. So next Monday evening, we'll be taking a look at that. So watch carefully for that next Monday public e-learning on the pop out of the box pattern. Speaking of the pop out of the box pattern, let's take a look at some of these charts that could be setting up. And remember, these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Remember, anything is possible, so follow your rules and your guidelines for risk tolerance. Never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. First off, take a look at Fastenal here. Fastenal, nice little pattern here. Big hammering pattern here on Friday. Came back in. They recovered this very nicely. Nice little resistance area in this consolidating move here on the chart. Keep an eye on Fastenal. I would look for a pop in there to that upside. Now, this actually doesn't qualify as a pop out of the box, and the reason is the range in that consolidation is more than I like to see. Can create that volatility and that extra risk in a trade, so keep an eye on that. But Fastenal, nice pattern. Take a look at FedEx. There's a nice little tight consolidation pattern in FedEx, and it also is doing everything I want to see it do. Break the downtrend, rallying up, hold the higher low, break through some resistance, hold it as support. If we can find some bullishness in the market, then look for that opportunity that might pop here in FedEx. Nice little pattern here. That would qualify as a pop out of the box. PepsiCo, I had this set up, and here's one of the great reasons why you set an alert and you don't anticipate the trade, you wait for the trade. And you can see struggled in here, didn't make it, ended up failing, pulling back. So at this point in time, if we look across here, this downtrend looks like it could be continuing in this chart. We did catch a little bit of support here on Friday, and we're working a bounce back. But remember, as we bounce back up into here, we're going to run into several areas, a little price resistance. I would watch for that potential failure now to come into play on PepsiCo. Not looking so good here at the moment. Keep an eye on that. Take a look at AG. AG did the same thing. There's that downtrend break. Pushed through some resistance. It was looking good. By golly, it just faded back through. And there's one of those reasons why we don't anticipate trades. We wait for them. And as you can see, faded back down and moving lower. A little bit concerned that this could continue on down. So keep an eye on AG. Silver running into this silver miner anyway, running into a little bit of trouble. Levi Strauss still holding into that nice bullish pattern here, breaking through this downtrend in here, crossing above some support, holding in there. It's been a little bit of volatility in that consolidation, but you can see we got a little bit of bullishness going here in the pre-market. Look for that opportunity on a bullish move of the market that could push up in here. And I want you to notice breaking through up here, we have a big upside gap that could be filled in Levi Strauss. So watch that closely. Caterpillar, as you know, Caterpillar is one I've been talking about here for a while. I wouldn't want to chase it at this point. Been moving up in this trend. There's that pop out of the box pattern, potential entry. Popped through, ran right on up here, looking good. As we approach this resistance in here, I would probably be watching that carefully for a little bit of profit taking, that kind of thing, or even a consolidation out here to trend. Then look for that next opportunity if it can pop on through there on Caterpillar. Watch that closely. Cummins, the same thing. Cummins has been moving up, looking nice in this chart, continuing to stretch on through, but also maybe getting a little bit extended here in the short term and may need just a little bit more rest or consolidation to come into that trade. So keep an eye on CMI, but you can see how those little pop out of the box patterns work and why you might want to be there next Monday. If we take a look at Disney, Disney has been trying in here, and you can see I placed that price alert, breaking that downtrend, trying to hold above some price support, but it's really been struggling in here for some momentum to get going. So watch that carefully. If we can find that bullish momentum and pop on through here, Disney might be just what you're looking for. However, this still runs the risk, if our momentum of the market fades, that this could drift back down below that support. So watch carefully here in Disney. Spotify, big popping move here in the pre-market. I'm not exactly sure. There must have been some news. This popped through, faded back, didn't take out the stop. And then all of a sudden we're getting all this activity here this morning. So watch that closely here on Spotify for that opportunity. If that can push on through and hold up in here, we break into that new level in Spotify and have that opportunity then that could push on through. Watch that closely. Old Mickey D's, that nice little consolidating move down here produced a beautiful upside run. Now we're pushing a same little resistance area, and it just can't seem to get out of there just yet. Don't be too surprised. Remember, McDonald's guided next quarter lower, and ever since that earnings report, it's been a buy. So if this were to fade back below that trend, or we just continue to go sideways here, still worth watching, but be very, very careful with it. We could see a pullback maybe coming here in McDonald's if it can't find that energy to push on through. Remember, there's for investors holding this, there's an opportunity loss that could occur if we stretch beyond this trend, and that is, hey, it's not moving, it's not making me any money, and then they'll start cutting it loose. So watch that closely here. Let's take a look at IBM. IBM continues to look very, very good, stretching here through to the upside, really showing a lot of strength. But once again, a lot of days up. I would expect this needs a rest or pullback. Big stretch on Friday. Any rest, consolidation, or pullback that brings us back here into trend would be that next opportunity, I think, for IBM. So I would be a little bit careful with this. I'd be raising some stops or even closing out part of this trade here in IBM. So watch that close. Some of the retail out there has been incredibly strong, and Walmart, since its earnings report, just tearing it up here to the upside. Continuing to stretch in this move to the upside. Good push on Friday, but once again, so many days to the upside, I'm going to be looking for a little bit of rest or consolidation to come in on that chart. If you're in this trade, raise those stops. Be a little bit careful for that risk of a potential pullback in the market. Let's take a look at oil. Now that oil continues to try and make it to the upside here, but boy, we seem to have really run into a lot of uncertainty here in the oil market. We're not really coming down, but we're not really gaining a lot of momentum here. There's that confusion out there with the weakness that we're seeing out of China, consumer weakness that we're seeing here in the United States, and of course over in Europe, we're seeing that issue as well. Worry that demand on oil could fall as a result. And then we still have all of those tensions over there, geopolitical tensions, war tensions over there in the Middle East, continuing to try and suggest we could go higher. So watch this closely. Pretty tough to gauge how this may go, but coming into some resistance, maybe a little bit more rest is due there in energy. And then if we take a look at our financials, my goodness, we've been ripping here in the financials to the upside. But at the same time, while that's been going on, we've been seeing stocks like BAC trying to come back here in the chart and still have that potential that they can make lower highs here in the chart. Big volatility in BAC here this morning, and BAC put out a report this weekend suggesting that they believe the U.S. market is going to go into recession here soon. So watch that closely here. BAC running into troubles, and we know Warren Buffett liquidated his position here in BAC, so there's a little bit of concern in some of these financials as well. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks so much for being here. Wish you all of the best in your trading, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. Have a wonderful day, everyone.